We are here with exercise 7 on photosynthesis, and we are working on assignment 5. And what we're going to do is some chromatography to see the different pigments in spinach as they travel up the chromatography paper. Now, we're not going to use a jar. We're just going to use one of these big test tubes. And we don't need the pin because we already have something made up that is a cork with a hook and some paper clips suspended from it. And these 2 paper clips are exactly the right height to put a piece of paper just barely above the bottom of the test tube. So the first step that we have to do with the paper then is we need to trim it. And I will show you what it looks like as you trim it. But we need to make a notch in the near one end, and then we need to trim the corners off of that end. Also, as you can see, I'm wearing gloves. That's because the oils from my hand would degrade this paper. Next, I have to trim the width of the entire paper so that it fits inside this test tube. So it's a bit too wide now. So the next step we do is we get the spinach pigment and we paint a line on the paper. It says to do it 6 times, but we need to do it until there is a visible dark line of pigment on the paper between the notches. We also have to let it dry in between each step. Okay, now that that's dry and this line seems to be pretty visible, we're going to add the developing solvent. Pour it in until the tip of the paper touches, but the line is not submerged. All right, that looks pretty good because the line of green pigment is not in, but the tip of the paper is in the developing solution. So now what we're going to do is leave this jar motionless, and we're going to watch as the pigments rise up through the paper. What you're looking at here is focused in on that green line, and we're just going to watch that pigment travel up the paper. When it gets to within 2 centimeters from the top of the paper, we'll stop the experiment. Okay, so we're back and everything has finished drying and the pigments have spread across the paper. They are very faint, so I understand if it's a little bit difficult for you to see this in the video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some pencil lines where I can see the colors, and then hopefully that will help you. So I have labeled this now so that you can actually see these pigments better. So we have B for chlorophyll B, A for chlorophyll A, X's for xanthophylls, C for carotene, and S for solvent. So what we're going to do now is calculate and record the ratio factor for each of these. So that is the distance moved by the pigment divided by the distance moved by the solvent. So I'm going to measure these in centimeters. And I'm going to measure from the center of the notch because that's where my line started.